Welcome back to the 4th Estate Militia ShadowPoint solo run. Deeper down the rabbit hole we go. Who are Shelby Tennyson and Elle and Gance Designs? More importantly, why do the reality hackers have these names ready for Kraken? Fill a snack bowl with some soy puffs and pour yourself a tall glass of Quetzal-Cola, because you are about to dive deep, deep, deep into the Matrix and find out. It's time to begin Kraken and the Reality Hackers, Part 3.
Okay, so I had 2 days to do this.
Yeah, we're
There's a
treating today
factory.
as Tuesday. You have until Thursday night. Basically, Thursday night is when you have to do things. Looking through the data package that you received, Shelby Tennyson, which I'll type this stuff into chat if you would like. He is basically the target. He has an automated factory that produces weapons accessories, like specific, like this is the Ares Predator 5 specific holster. This is the the Ares Alpha approved sling that mounts up perfectly with the swivel mounts on an Ares Alpha. Like does like the luxury accessory good for weapons.
Is it only for Ares products or is it for all weapons?
He does commission, like he receives an order and he'll do it. It's just Ares is his number one customer.
Okay.
In addition, there is a single-use comm code. The tag on it says, only if you succeed. So you can figure that's to call them to let them know it's done. There is a brief schedule, and it basically says between that the hack has to be done, has to be completed between, say, midnight and 3 a.m. on Thursday night. So Thursday night, midnight, Friday morning by 3 a.m.
Production. Is that the deadline, or is that when I have to do the thing?
That's when the final step has to be done. This is where I get to go through my 12,000 pages of notes because, dear God, oh dear God, oh dear. Just to give you an idea, the what we just accomplished was 7 pages in a PDF that I wrote out. I have 2 notepads with notes, host designs, and character personalities written in there. I have 4 Roll20 pages currently made, and 3 macros that I wrote.
Oh God, that is a scary amount of prep work.
Hey, come on, solos are supposed to be important, you know?
Yeah, I'm really appreciating this. So yeah, so I have 2 to 3 days. The hack needs to be done by then. There's not a specific time. I could technically go out and do it right now, and as long as it's not noticed, it will be okay. I have the address of the factory, and I have a list of names of people working there, and it's gonna be weapon accessories. So we need to make sure that the weapons accessories fail in some comedic way, because just having them not show up will not be as embarrassing as having them show up and being shown off, and then just falling completely flat on their face.
So tell you what, how about you don't really have any kind of textiles and manufacturing knowledge skills. There is a big chunk of code that came included with this information, which it doesn't ring a bell to you. Like it almost feels like say you know how to code C++, and somebody gives you C#. Well, you can kind of figure out, or better yet, if you know how to code JavaScript, and then you get like C# or something, like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because it's all based on the Fortran syntax.
Yeah. This is more like C++ versus assembly. Like you can tell that it's code, but it's an old language. It's not a modern language that most people use. And it's just a little too foreign to really understand what it is. If you'd like to roll software, you can try to figure some of it out. In this particular test, your agent... I'll allow your agent to help if you would like.
Agents do not know software. If they did, they would be AIs.
What I was going to say is if this doesn't turn out very well, then what you can do is do a matrix search. But it will be very obscure information. And on the matrix search, your agent could help. But just trying to use your own brain knowledge to figure it out, it's a...
Well, I'm going to give it a swing just because her friends believe in her. And she's not going to let them down. And starting to search for stuff on the Matrix means that you might leave a search history, and they probably wouldn't want that.
It feels, at 5 hits, you kind of have to squint your eyes, because for some reason that helps. It's like when you're looking for an address, you turn down the radio in the car and you can find the address better.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like machine instructions. Like it's telling a machine how to, like, very specific coordinates of how to do something.
So basically it's like 3D printing or something instructions for the printer. So I need to upload this specific code to a specific thing inside the place. Most likely, that's what Kraken is thinking. This looks like a new set of instructions for some of the stuff that makes the things that we're supposed to break.
So the other two things that are included, all of the information for Strapped LLC. Again, that's the address and the owner. The other part is for a design business called Elle and Gance. Somebody trying to be clever. And as you stare at it, there is a big number 1 pointed to Elle and Gance, and then there's a number 2 pointed at Strapped LLC.
So there is a link between them. Okay, so Elle and Gans are the ones that design the things, and then Strap LLC actually produces them.
That would be a good assumption to make. If you have a knowledge skill applicable, you may roll it, or if you would like to do a matrix search, you may do so.
These are public-facing companies, so we'll just do a quick T1 search and get the screen sheets on them.
Okay.
I changed my mind, so we'll do a T3. We're a decker, we're supposed to be good at this.
And that's for Ellen Gantz?
Yeah.
Which, that's one of those cute names. It's like, oh, elegance. That stops being cute after the third time you've heard it, and you just kind of just gets a little eye rolling. Dear God, 10 hits on a T3. Jesus, dude, what kind of rush are you in?
Oh, well, I mean, you wanted to brag about how your guy was good at searching for things. So is Kraken.
So with Ellen Gantz, they are a very, very small outfit. They are 100% on the Matrix. They have a small little office somewhere in the Denver Front Range zone. And what they do is they design, like, say you want to do some kind of textile manufacturing with specific patterns. They actually write the code that is translated by the machines that physically make it. Say, I mean, you want like bowling shirts for your friends, and you want them to design some kind of cool embroidery. You contact them, you tell them what they want, they design it. You let them know who is going to do the manufacture, and then they will actually write the code for their specific machines.
And you said their office was in Denver?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to be hitting those physically.
And then your T3 on Strapped. It is the proud brainchild of one Shelby Tennyson, UCAS Navy retired. He is an Aries limited sinner. And Strapped LLC is actually based out of Detroit, but they have satellite offices, which to a trained eye would say it's purely for tax reasons. If you manufacture something in the UCAS, you don't have to necessarily pay taxes as you would if it was manufactured in the CAS and then shipped to the UCAS. So they're the kind of place that likes to have satellite offices just to reduce costs. The big thing that they are proud to announce is they are 100% drone operated. So there's no chance for human error to be inputted in any of their products.
Excellent.
Their catchphrase is machine precision, machine perfection.
Excellent. So it would be fair to assume that the factory has already received some of the code? Or would that code be uploaded at the very last moment? So I need to make sure that mine is uploaded afterwards.
Well, you don't rightly know. I will say, on a T3, I'm okay with this on a T3 for Strapped LLC. With the recent victory of Linda Taylor as Mayor of Tacoma, Aries has decided to release a limited line of special edition holsters celebrating the victory of Linda Taylor and the impending wave of lawfulness and safety and security that Knight Errant will be able to provide with a strong leader and force.
Oh God. Okay, so in Kraken's mind right now, it looks like we'll be doing the thing. We'll be doing the legwork, and then we'll be doing the thing at the last possible moment. Because it would really suck to go through all of the effort to upload the hacked code only to have the real code being uploaded later and overwriting it. That would really suck.
There's a part of your tiny lizard brain that thinks maybe when New Picasso was really specific about between midnight and 3 a.m., it might have been for a reason.
Kraken knows all about code timings. She knows what happens when you get the timings wrong, and then suddenly you have crates spilling all over the docks. It's not pretty. Okay, well then we'll just go here with the schedule and say that is the exact time, not the deadline.
All right, so you have a chunk of sort of code that you kind of understand, but not exactly. You have the name of a design studio, and you have the name of a factory. What would you like to do, sir?
I'm gonna need to know something about the factory, I guess. If I already have the code to upload, then the design studio and the actual company is less important. Kraken is going to assume that her new friends already know what they're doing. So, but she is going to need to know something about the security layout of the factory. When you're saying something is completely drone automated, Kraken gets flashbacks of the time that she was in a neonet building that was filled with drones and nullsec, and it was not a happy time. It was not a happy time indeed.
Now,
But
just because I don't want to send you on a wild herring, and stuff like this can get a little convoluted because you never know how much to say from this, how much to say from that.
Mhm.
The code that you were given was associated with the data file for Gance and for Elle and Gance. You're fairly certain that code has to go to them in some form.
Okay. Okay. So
Like I
yeah,
don't want to spoon feed, but I also don't want to send you on a wild herring because I'm being a little too poetic in the way I speak.
yeah. I mean, the thing that Kraken is thinking is if it's at a specific time, that you should probably plant it inside the factory, and there's going to be like an actual machine she needs to get to and do the thing. But that, of course, means that then when the first line comes out and it's broken, they have a chance of calling Ellen Gans and getting the originals. So I guess it does make sense to go for Ellen Gans and make sure that their backups are corrupted. But at the same time, she would very much like to know if the code is already at the factory, because again, it would suck to do the whole thing and then find out the code is already sent.
So would you like to do a drive-by of the factory?
Yeah, gonna do a drive-by, do a quick perception for stuff, and also on the way over, because it is a bit of a drive, so you can probably crank out another T3 search on the factory to see if there's any floor plans.
Okay. So it's over in Auburn, which is very much like the blue collar working area. It's in an industrial area where basically all of the other factories are located. It's not a super secret area. There's no wild guard dogs running around or anything like that. It's a building with big roll up delivery doors in the front. And as you drive up, there's the T3 on the factory. Now, what are you looking specifically for the factory?
Floor plans.
Okay, you got them. It's a warehouse. It is wide open. The second story isn't actually a second story, it's a catwalk that goes all the way around. And I will, you know what? I'm even going to show you a picture, I think. Let me make sure I don't have any secret notes written on here.
And you said there were gats and gat dogs.
Nothing of the sort. This is just a standard industrial area. And you should be getting drug over. Do you see a bunch of geometric shapes?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any text on the page?
I see strapped LLC.
Perfect. Okay, I was worried that I put some notes on the wrong on the wrong layer, and I didn't want to advertise all my evil plans.
I also see the place that says landmines and monowire and big big shacks with laser beams.
Just pretend you didn't see the explosive bomb full of monowire. So you actually see there is like a full, almost like a video walkthrough, because as far as you can tell, Shelby Tennyson is a little bit stuck up, very proud of himself, and he leads you in this little video. Now the small rectangles, those are person doors. The little red square next to those is a maglock. The long blue rectangles on the right side are the roll-up doors for delivery, where the red kind of like hash mark arrows are pointing. Those actually go down. Like so, the delivery dock is like the big semi truck backs up to it and it's at a slight down angle so that it sits to where the level of the tail of the trailer is level with the loading dock. So it's not like take it out of the truck and put it on the ground and then put it inside. So it goes directly from trailer into the factory. Looking inside, there's a little office up in the top left corner, again with a door. These pale blue squares are tiny windows set high up in the walls. Now, here is the best part. The north side of the building, or the top side of the picture as you look at it, these rectangles, these are storage racks. The ones running left to right up there. This red oval going all the way around appears to be like a metal rail, like you could put a pulley on it and slide something all the way around the outside of the factory, you would say. But it's just a big metal oval that's mounted against the wall, so it's supported. It's not like floating on ground floor. It's up high at the second floor. And in the center of the room, these 8 rectangles are all of the machines that are used to create all of the custom work. The green lines are basically their hard wires that go up to about the 10-foot level, and then they cut over on like a little catwalk, and then they drop down to the very, very center, which is this. I think that's red. I'm colorblind. My apologies. And
It's
that
pink.
pink, close enough. That appears to be the central controller. And when Tennyson's doing the walkthrough, he's just bravado and brag and look at how smart I am. And right here we have the Jobamat drones, the most high-tech machine for creating these kind of things. And it's all run by this. Now you might call it an antique, but I say it's from a time when the UCAS did it all right. And that's when he refers to the central controller.
Hmm.
No,
Would it be a hardware check or a matrix knowledge check to recognize if this is one of those old throwback devices where you have to be direct connected?
why don't you roll me both and I can tell you yes 2 times. It is very clearly it is a standalone system. Just looking at the front of it, you can see the slot where a data chip gets plugged in. There is a data jack plug, the universal data port, that has been added to the side of the machine. So it's kind of like the port. You can see where the shiny screws are, where it's been drilled to mount it onto the machine, and then the wiring goes in through a hole that was punched through the side of it.
Hmm.
So not original configuration to accept a data jack, but it has been modified. But there is a physical chip slot on the front of the machine.
Excellent.
There is a host, which is a rating 4 host.
Can I get the ASDF?
If I can find the page where I put it, yes.
Also, the tiny high windows. I have to ask because this is a thing that he hasn't gotten to do yet. Would these windows be big enough to say fire a grappling hook up and then squeeze through?
How weird you should say that. They look to be just the right size for that.
I know that going for the Maglock is probably easier and with Kraken's skill set, but she has a grappling hook, and I haven't gotten to fire it yet.
All right. It is attack 5, sleaze 4, data processing 7, firewall 6. And
Okay.
I know we're supposed to roll for all this stuff, but it's a matrix perception. You could keep throwing those out over and over.
Yeah, I also just like telling people, unless there's like a reason for a timer, like say Patrol IC, just get the stuff. Keep rolling until you succeed.
Yeah. So since it's not time sensitive right now, don't worry about it. The other thing that
Okay.
you found on that T3, there are drones like anthroform drones that work through here. Basically, two very large. They look almost like muscular orcs, like mass wise. That appear to be the warehouse drones. The thing though is they have cables going from the very top of their heads up into that second level, like catwalk scaffolding kind of thing. And the wires just they stay plugged in all the time.
So I cannot just grab one of the drones and have it do the thing for me. Or well, I probably can if I go inside the host, but Kraken feels like doing some good old-fashioned B&E. Because this looks like an interesting building to crack. And sitting in a van doing all the things from the host, that's not her style. Well, it is her style because the meanies that she works with keeps forcing her to stay in the van when she wants to go out and do stuff.
What a bunch of jerks.
Yeah, they tie the Matrix person up like a pinata and beat them until the legwork falls out. Okay, so they did give me a 1 and a 2, so they obviously want me to hit the Denver office and do some stuff. And then for good measure, they want me as number 2 to go into the building here and upload the code so that it looks like they got the right code and the code is wrong. So there's going to be some host dive because Kraken has no way of getting to Denver and back this quickly. The one thing that she's very unsure about right now is whether the elegance, right, you say it 3 times and then you just feel dirty. Whether they're within the 3-hour time frame as well. She's thinking probably because if you do it early, then there's always the risk of some idiotic, overambitious code monkey doing a last-minute code review and realizing everything is wrong.
Well, you have a couple of options. You can dive the host and try to figure it out while you're there. You can go in like a regular real person with a SIN. You can go into T6 land. You can call contacts to find out specifics. It is entirely up to you.
Mm-hmm. Kraken is weighing her options, trying to figure out the timings because the timings of what she needs to do determines what order she does things in. If she can just hit the Denver office at any time from across the internet, then she should probably get that out of the way and then focus on the building afterwards. Does the host in the Denver office have a public facing?
Of course.
Okay. Well, in that case, we're going to start driving randomly around Seattle in our car, so they were difficult to trace. Because the host is probably going to ask for 2 marks when I ask for 1 mark. Because how else are they gonna send me targeted advertising?
Exactly.
So yeah, Kraken's gonna hop into the Elegance public facing of there. Oh, but she's also going to look at Elegance's host just to get their array.
All right. It is a rating 5 host. It is attack 6, sleaze 5, data processing 8, firewall 7.
I'm not sure I actually need the array right now, but it's nice to have it for later because I'm probably going to be doing things that are completely legal and does not break any warranties on this host. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna look around the host and get a feel for the place.
All right. Well, when you log into the host, there is a request for 2 marks,
They can have them.
and they will grant you the 1 mark for access, and you enter the host. So we were talking about beautiful sculpt. This is a design company,
Oh
and
God.
they wasted no effort in designing this host. They're based out of the Denver Front Range Free Zone, which is actually an area I used to live. Specifically, there is a park I used to go to with my wife, and after our son was born, we went there a couple of times. It's not a little park; it is a huge park, just rolling grassland. So it is a big area, like multiple soccer fields connected. There's a water fountain, just absolutely exquisite. The host almost feels real. It is that level of beautiful. As you zip in, you will find yourself in the parking lot, and you're walking towards this park, and there is a young man wearing an orange vest, like obviously the I'm a parking attendant here. And as you walk up, he is the one who will actually request to put 2 marks on you to grant you access to this lovely park.
Mhm.
And as you do so, he will stare at you and he will write down on a clipboard. And you know, this is like you said, the targeted advertising. They're keeping a log of everybody who comes in. And he'll say, please, ma'am, enjoy the park. So as you walk in, it's amazing. There's a man walking around selling balloons. There's a very I'd like to speak to a manager looking soccer mom with her comlink out who's just taking selfies of herself over and over. There's a gardener who is just, or a landscaper, I guess would be the word, who's trimming the grass and picking up trash. It actually feels nice. Like it feels relaxing. You could actually sit down and just, have a picnic. And as you say that, you look up and there's families sitting together having picnics on the grass. When you look down at your own avatar, you've been given a name tag, which is stuck to the front of your shirt that says whatever name is on your sin. And then below that it says, just visiting. There are some old people walking around looking through binoculars up at the birds. There's some people playing frisbee. Like, it's just, in general, it's a beautiful place. And you just know with that certainty of a matrix site, there's that knowledge that's downloaded to your brain, that if you had any questions, all you would have to do is raise your hand and somebody would come over to help you.
Kraken's going to find herself a nice bench and then sit down and soak in the beautiful sculpt because this is a thing that a normal person that sees a very beautiful sculpt might do. And while she does that, she's gonna just admire everything, like say that gardener or the landscaper to figure out if that is the patrol IC or if it's a spider. And generally trying to get a feel for where the various bits of the sculpt will be. So that if she sneaks in after dark later, she won't have to look for them then.
All right, go ahead and throw me some matrix perception dice.
Yeah. And the good thing about being legally inside the host is no one complains that you have an agent.
You just look like a business professional when you do that.
Oh wow. I should just make my agent do the things for me.
Your agent with half the dice pool did better than you. That's great. Well, the good thing is,
Yeah, Hermione knows best.
I got a whole 1 hit to resist what you're looking at, so no, you can see it. Using your matrix eyes, you look around, and the sculpt, it's actually really cleverly done. Because if you just walked in, like you look at most offices, when you go to their host, it is very clear the people in the host that are working appear to be things in the host that are working. Like it's boring. It's a very literal translation. This is anything but literal. The balloon vendor who's walking up to everybody and offering them a balloon is quite blatantly the patrol ice. Like you see that because the balloon vendor is coming up and looking at each of the avatars that are in there. The families that are having the picnics, they're actually work groups who are actively working together, probably in the Denver office or telecommuting into each other. But that's the visual representation of them doing the design work. The bird watchers with the binoculars, those are the camera feeds. Like it's really clever how they did that. And probably the one part that would really trip with Kraken, the people who are playing frisbee aren't actually people. Those are data transfers happening within the host.
That is very clever.
So tell me what you would like to do while you're inside this host legally like a real person.
Well, they're doing the things out in the open, so this is the time where I can identify the stuff that I would probably need to do stuff with. Because again, I'm a legal person that is just interested in browsing right now and trying to get a feel for the place. So the things that Kraken would like to get an idea about without doing anything illegal like hacking, just by looking at the things. She'd like to get a feel for whereabouts would the storage area be for once the family picnic is done. They gotta take the picnic basket and store it somewhere, because that's where she's probably going to need to upload some code later.
Well, funny you should say that because you can actually watch the work groups as they do this. So work is represented, and this is the great thing about host is you think about something and you're there. So you're
Hmm.
walking around and it's not awkward to be around. I mean, I like to be clear with the Matrix, just because your avatar is here instead of there, that's not going to trip an alarm. That's just it has to do with the way your brain is perceiving it is where you're located. It's because you're not physically there. So it's not
Hmm.
like you're being a creeper if you look at them. But with the work groups, they all have a picnic basket in front of them. And of course, this is the socially accepted, very eclectic group of people. There's a troll, there's an orc, there's a dwarf, there's an elf, there's a black, there's a Chinese, there's a white, there's a native, like a First Nations, there's every color of the rainbow, every metatype seems to be represented, like the baseline metatypes, that is.
Hmm.
So as people are working together, you can look, the picnic basket is that's something that's really really interesting. Like you're gonna throw me some specific dice on the picnic basket, but
Yeah,
that's
sure.
where as people are doing work, they'll reach into the picnic basket and they'll pull something out that is represented by food, potato salad, fried chicken, like very Americana type meals. Macaroni salad or macaroni and cheese or good God, with all those hits. That's a 50% hit rate on that roll. That is disgusting.
It kind of offsets the one I had before, where I only got half that.
And you did throw up all over yourself in VR, so I guess I'll let you have it. So the thing it's just cool how it's represented because like they'll take food out of the basket, they'll put it on a plate, and that's just visually what is represented. But you can see what's actually happening is they're actually creating the design work for whatever contracts they have that are currently open. And
Mhm.
then they will put everything on the plate, and then they actually take the plate and set it back into the picnic basket. With 10 hits on a matrix perception, you can tell that the picnic basket is a compiler. That's what actually is creating the machine code for whichever factory has the order. So basically, the order of operations is that take the requested schematics, they
Mhm.
take the requirements of the equipment that will make the two work together, and then they put it in the picnic basket, which is the compiler.
Mhm.
And then the picnic basket is set onto a picnic table that is just behind them. And again, visually, it looks like they just set a picnic basket down. That's it actually being stored in their archive.
Mhm. So I
So,
need to find the right picnic basket to do the swapperoonies on.
and when it comes time to pull the data up, like to actually send out the data in any form, that's when the frisbee players come into play. One of the frisbee players will walk over to the picnic basket, open it up, close the lid, and then they'll throw a frisbee to somebody else. That would be like a digital
Mhm.
transfer, like you consider email, if you will, being sent from one place to another.
Okay, so I think what Kraken really needs right now is she will probably need. I don't know if he has any relevant contracts. It's probably going to be all software and searches, because she's going to need to know which of these baskets she needs to go back in after dark and just swap the contents of one basket with the contents that she has on her storage. But she has no idea what the contents of the basket she's gonna look for alike. So she's going to need to, knowing now that it's going to be a specific holster, and knowing what kind of machines is going to be uploaded to, and having the second set of code as a reference. She's trying to get a feel for what she's looking for when she's looking in the baskets later on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, give me a matrix search.
I'm guessing this is just a general search. She's not
Yes.
going
This
and
is just
poking
a
around in the
general
host.
within the host.
Yeah, but I'm asking, is it outside the host or inside the host? Because inside the host you can get bonuses, but you're also kind of poking at things and it looks suspicious.
It's very much inside the host.
Yeah, so what Kraken wants to do is she wants to do some legwork outside the host to hopefully make it easier for her to do the search inside the host, because she needs to be silent when she's doing that, otherwise it's gonna be locked. And she does not want that tied to her sin.
Now, just keep in mind, if you do a search within a host, it's actually an unopposed roll. It's just an issue of time. So I think other people might have played it a little bit differently, but per rules as written, and I try to stay as close to those as I can. A matrix search is just a base time of 1 minute versus any kind of modifiers I might throw on there. So at worst, you might get noticed just spending a lot of time in the host. But it's not I search for this, that trips an alarm. That's not at all how I handle a matrix search within a host.
Okay, the main thing I was figuring going for is I'm not sure that Kraken actually knows what she's looking for, or rather, she knows what she's looking for, but she doesn't know what it looks like. That's why she wanted to do some due diligence.
Okay, I got you.
To have an idea of what she's looking for.
All right. So what would you like to do?
She's going to leave the host temporarily. She's not going to reboot her deck. This is fine. She's still trying around, and she's going to be doing I guess it's going to be a T3 search and a software roll to get an idea about, now that she's seen the sculpt and knows what the machine that's being uploaded to is like, and what her code is like, to just get a general feel for the code that she's looking for inside the host, so that when she finds it on the search inside the host, she knows what she's that she found it.
All right, go ahead and roll me a software test. That will kind of represent how well you understand what's going on. Use those as bonus dice, like a teamwork test with your matrix search.
Do I use my agent as well?
Yeah, let's keep this one to you, because this is kind of an abstract way of doing a search, and your agent might not be smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, we're sticking with that about 50% rate. Jeez.
If it makes you feel any better, because the agent isn't helping me, I can only keep 7 of them.
Okay. That's knocking it down to nothing for a T3. That's great. All right, so you're looking through with this kind of code. It is a pre-wireless controller. We're talking like 2050s kind of pre-wireless. In fact, you might. There were rumors back then. Before there was true VR, you had the Matrix. You had the Matrix 1.0. Everything was neon wireframed. There was no realism to it.
Yeah, you got your big assist module to be able to even be in VR.
Uh-huh. Except there was always the rumor about something called an ultraviolet host. An ultraviolet host, it felt realer than real. It's almost like what VR is nowadays, but with 2050s technology. Looking at this code, the way that it is kind of set up, like it has reference points to that. It has references to very old pre-De La Mare wireless Matrix, is pre-Crash 2.0 Matrix. So back when everything was connected with wires, with plugs, with the grandchild of the USB. And with those things not being wireless enabled, it feels like there's an air gap. Which is also backed up when you saw the walkthrough video with all of the input-output ports and everything being run hardline to it.
Yep, I do a lot of air gap work at work, so this, the person, not the Kraken probably also does air gap work at work at some points. So yeah, this makes sense. So what Kraken now knows is that when she's looking for through the picnic baskets, she can safely ignore anything where there's any kind of references to something that looks like a wireless protocol, because that's not going to be in the code that she needs to replace. And that should hopefully narrow it down to at least a couple of candidates. And then she just needs to find one that is roughly the same size as the meal that she's bringing. Because depending on the complexity of the machine, the code is going to be slightly different. So she needs to find something that's a meal that is roughly the same size as what she's bringing. And that's the swap she wants to do.
All right.
Thinking back to when she was in the host, she didn't see any of the picnic groups going to manipulate the basket after they put it on the table, did she?
Without trying to be too poetic in how they did it, you can tell that a basket was taken from the table to the picnic area. That is when a group was working on it. And then when they were done with that design issues, they would put everything back in the basket, and that's where it would compile to whatever was needed. And they would put it back on the table, and that would be it going to the archive. So it's going into storage after that.
Oh, archive. Okay, we're not foundation diving today.
Oh,
I'm
no,
thinking that
no. Don't hear the word archive and think foundation. Hear archive as save. Like
Okay,
it's not actively being utilized. There is not a persona attached to it. It is put into, it's saved on the hard drive, and nothing is touching it right now.
fair enough. It's just like because archive capital A that is an actual thing in
Yes,
in
this is
basic terminology.
lowercase a storage.
Lowercase a. Gotcha. Well, I mean, it would have been fine. That would just have meant that she needed to intercept the frisbee instead.
Now, as always, if you hit a point where you would like to use a point of common sense, I will greedily eat it up and give you hints if you feel you're stuck in a certain direction.
I'm trying to just decide how to proceed. I have a lot of stuff to go on. So what I'm thinking, I'm just going to think out loud because you're the GM and you know what's going on inside Kraken's little head.
Oh.
So Kraken is thinking, again, the picnic people can go and retrieve the picnic basket and work more on it and put stuff back into it. So she cannot do this way, way ahead in time because then she risks being found out that it's been tampered with. So she needs to do this host dive, but she needs to do it at the start of the 3-hour gap she has when the whole thing is going down. So what she wants to do is, in a moment, she's going to scrub her deck. She's gonna just start driving somewhere else. Wait a bit so that's not too obvious where the hack comes from when she fails hilariously in a moment. Then she's gonna go in and she's gonna locate the picnic basket she's after, so she knows exactly where to go when it's go time.
So at this point, I would like to offer you the opportunity to spend a point of common sense. There is something that it is possible Kraken would know that you as the player do not.
Sure. Eat my common sense. I have 5 of them.
If this machine is air gapped, how is it going to get to the client?
They are going to send the data to the office, most likely, and it's going to be downloaded onto a data chip, and they're going to walk out to the machine and slot it in, is what I'm thinking.
I will remind you, so there was a host there.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be sent it from the R5 host to the R4 host, and then some stuff is going to happen over there.
So I will include this as part of the common sense. This is a fully automated drone factory.
Mm-hmm.
What drone can access the matrix? Because the answer is none.
Yeah, because they're wired.
Oh.
The common sense just made me more confused. I feel like you're trying to throw me a hint, but I have no idea what it is.
It's possible my design was a little too obtuse on this. And this is more for the sake of time. Basically, what's going to happen is, and again, I think I might have made things a little too complicated in my design. What you need to do with Elle and Gance is compile the code, copy the code, and then erase any record that you were ever there. Because what they do is they process the orders. An order comes in, they process it, they send it out immediately. So what you need to do is basically get the compiled code, because you have the design specifics, but it's not compiled yet. So you need to get Elle and Gance to compile it, and then later when it comes time, because remember you were told 1 and 2. 1 was Elle and Gance, 2 was the factory. You have to get the code to the factory in a specific time window to effectively overwrite the data they're going to get from Elle and Gance direct.
Okay, so yeah, okay. I was not aware that the code that I had was not compiled.
I was waiting for you to do a search specifically on that code. Like specific, like find out what is this code saying.
Yeah, I thought that was my earlier software plus logic.
I'm sorry. That's why I said I think I was being a little too complicated in the way I designed it because I was looking for a specific type of search.
No, no, this makes perfect sense though, because like then the code is compiled to the correct machine. So I need to identify the picnic basket that will compile to this specific type of machine, and then I can just sneak in and compile myself a program. Okay,
And
now it makes sense again.
Linda Taylor being elected as mayor of Tacoma was the result of a recent MetaPlot that we ran on the ShadowPoint Living Community. There were several candidates running for the position, each with their own particular baggage, and as a result of a couple dozen individual runs, she came out ahead as the winner. And with that, we conclude part 3 of the solo run, Kraken and the Reality Hackers. Thanks for listening.